We are back with another of Discover Dunwoody's Chats with a Local Expert. I am Mark Galvin. I'm the Director of Marketing for Discover Dunwoody. And you know, we enjoy bringing people in that can share their expertise and knowledge so that you are better informed. And I love this because today our expert is going to have information that we can all benefit from. So I want to introduce all of you to Lauren Sok. Lauren, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So glad you're here. You are a physical therapist and founder of, and I have to be careful I have to say this, with Functionize. Is that right?
Correct. Functionize.
Because I've said it, functionizing,
Functionalize, a lot of people say.
That's the other, I did say that.
It's
Functionize.
Yep.
And you have your own practice here in Dunwoody that you opened in 2021, and we love that. But you started off, and you did a private pay practice, and you opened in Decatur to start off with.
Yeah.
Why did you go private pay?
So I worked in the physical therapy industry for about 16 years.
Oh, really?
So I've been doing this for about 23.
Good.
And what I saw was there was a very broken system. Our healthcare we know is broken.
Yeah.
Insurance has allowed us to fall apart because what happens is somebody comes to you and you're forced to treat a diagnosis and you're not really treating the person. And so I would often leave my, place of employment and feel just like I wasn't giving my whole self and wasn't able to truly give people what they needed so that they can live their lives like they want. And so I said, you know what, I am going to start my own practice. I'm going to go out on a limb and do it without using insurance.
Okay.
So from the very beginning, we see people, they pay us up front for services, and it becomes much more client-centered and really about looking at the big picture and then individualizing that treatment, which if you go into a traditional model with insurance, it can be very cookie cutter.
Right.
You go there, you have knee pain, they give you a list of exercises and say, okay, do these, come back and see if it helps, and if it doesn't, then they tweak it up, and it's just not, it's not personal.
So it sounds like you have a lot more flexibility in a private pay space.
We do.
And I think I've seen this before. When I go to the doctor, they have to find a code, and that code says this is covered with this insurance, and this is what you have to do. And so they're not as free to really help me, and you've solved that. I love that.
Right. Yes.
That is why on my little piece of paper here it says you focus on humans as a whole as opposed to the sum of the symptoms. So people come in with a pain and they want that solved.
Sure.
Is that the best way to help solve that pain?
So like you said, because we don't see people and use insurance, we are able to treat the whole body. So like when you come in for, say, knee pain, what we know is that typically the cause of the problem might be your ankle or your hip. If we don't evaluate all of that, then we're not truly figuring out the root cause of your pain. So we have to look at, how does your low back move? How does your hips and knees and ankles move? What is your balance? And so it really lets us hone in onto the problem and then create the solution. We call it our climb. We actually have a graphic in the office where we tell people, like, we're creating a partnership. The minute you come in the door, we are creating a partnership to try to figure out what the problem is, and we're going to go on this climb together because we know that solving a problem is not linear. It's going to be curvy and jagged, and so we're going to have ups and downs and bumps along the way. But once we figure that out, then we're really going to optimize your function and your health because we're just then tweaking or fine-tuning what you need so you can continue to age gracefully and live the life that you want, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
So full disclosure, I have been to an appointment with Lauren. I ran into her at a social event, and you said, hey, we're going to run, and running somehow came up, and I said, running is great, I can't run. Literally, that's what I say. I don't run because when I run, my right knee blows up like a blimp, and you said, oh, no, you're running wrong. Well, actually, you didn't say that. She inferred that she could help me run better. So when I went in for this appointment, you didn't, I was fascinated. You didn't just look at my knee. You looked at how flexible my knee was. How does my other knee work? How strong are my legs? And then put me on a treadmill, and you showed me how my hips, sometimes hips dive. They need to be level. There's a lot more detail here than you probably wanted to hear. What the important thing that I think is what I wanted to share is, she didn't just look at my knee, she looked at all the mechanics that go into running, which I thought was fascinating. So I really enjoyed that trip to come see you and to experience that. And I'm working on running now. So we'll have to do a follow-up.
We're gonna get you
because I
there.
got more work to do, but I thought that was really, really interesting. So I'm an example of somebody that had a problem with my knee, and I came to see you. What do you typically see people, what are they experiencing before they pick up the phone, they call you and they say, hey, Lauren, I need some help?
So the typical person that comes in the door is what we like to say, it's active people who want to stay active. So we're not necessarily treating a surgery or an injury. They are already doing something that they enjoy doing, but something is holding them back. It could be a father who wants to play baseball with his son, and every time he goes to throw the ball, his shoulder hurts, and he says, I don't want this to continue to hurt.
Wow.
Or you're the runner where you have knee pain, and you say, well, I run with my running group, I enjoy it, but afterwards my knees get really stiff and achy, and I don't like that feeling. Or it could even be the empty nester who's looking at their aging parents, and they say, my mom, has had hip surgeries, she's on medication.
Oh, wow.
My dad had a fall as he's in his 80s. I don't want to have that. I want to be able to travel and see the world in my retirement. And how can I continue again to do those things and not feel held back by this? And that's
so that's just not physical therapy. When you talk about
it's
some
not.
of those things,
It's not
diet, it is exercise, it is physical therapy is a component of that. So you can address more than just
the whole yeah. And
Wow.
and we look at, if you look at the 4 pillars of healthy living, it is movement, it is diet or nutrition, like you mentioned, it's sleep, and then it's stress management. So if all of those things can be in balance, then we can live healthy and well.
So you can help me with my stress?
Well, if we can get you running, maybe we can manage your stress.
Well, wait a minute, I do get on the elliptical every morning, which doesn't hurt my knees much, but I do think it's interesting that you bring up stress, because that is something that can hold people back, and that you can address that too.
Yeah.
Huh. We haven't talked about that. I think that's really interesting. Okay, so give me some examples of the type of treatments that you offer and how they help.
So, it can be anything from what we call hands-on manual therapy, and that is what we learn in physical therapy school for the most part. It's how we put our hands on people, how we maybe massage their muscles, help their joints to improve, because we can stretch the muscle all day, but if our joint itself is not moving well, then you're not going to improve the flexibility. So we look at joint mobility. We look at then, putting together an exercise program to target those areas where we're finding the limitations. And then it's a more holistic plan that relates to function. So it's not just like laying on the table and doing a bunch of exercises that a lot of people do. If we don't get you up and moving, then you're not going to be able to translate those exercises into what your function and your purpose is, right? But in addition to all of that, we offer things like dry needling, which is a very popular modality that people are doing now.
Ow.
Ow,
Does
right. No, it actually doesn't hurt. It is very thin.
Wait a minute, come on. You're sticking needles in me. Why wouldn't that hurt?
It's this teeny tiny monofilament needle. So it's called
Wait, you said
monofilament. Yes.
Okay.
So we're talking like millimeter thickness,
All right.
if that, that goes into the muscles, and it's called dry needling because we're not injecting anything. So when you go to the doctor and they give you an injection, that's a wet needle because it's a hollow needle and it's much thicker. So a dry needle is it's like an acupuncture needle.
Okay.
Very tiny, very thin.
How deep do you stick it?
It depends on the muscle group.
Yeah.
It can go, if it's your quad or your glutes, it's going to go pretty far. If it's
And
something,
that doesn't hurt?
no, it doesn't hurt. It feels achy. It feels achy.
I'm
And
like, oh.
no,
Okay, so if I don't like needles, how do I get them? Do people cover their face? Like, okay.
well, that could be. We could put them on their stomach and so that they can't see it.
Yeah.
But most people, the reason they do it is because it can decrease your pain by about 50% in one treatment. So the
kidding.
results are so dramatic that people will endure some discomfort if they feel it, and
Wow.
they can significantly, improve like their strength or their range of motion in just one session.
All right. So, all joking aside, I'm sure you have people who are worried about, okay, you're going to stick that needle in me, and they're worried, right?
Yeah.
There's that. But by putting the needles into muscles, it is causing them to heal themselves in some way. And is that what creates the recovery and makes it better? What is it? How does that work?
It's a little bit more on a nervous system response. So when the nerve goes into the muscle, when we're in pain, that nerve is sending signals to the muscle to keep contracting, and that's why the muscle stays tight. Okay. So think about knots in our neck, right? Like we have these knots and we're like, oh, I just wish we could get them out. And if we put a needle into those knots, what it does is it releases that tightness and causes you'll get what's called a twitch response, where you put the needle in and the muscle actually twitches and then releases. It's really cool. Huh. I mean, it feels a little weird because it's just doing it on its own.
It sounds a little weird, but keep going.
But it twitches and then releases, and then the muscle just relaxes. And the brain then says, oh, this muscle is now relaxed. I'm not going to think, or the pain signals from that knot are not going to go to your brain, and your brain's going to disregard it and say, okay, that's not an area that I need to be aware of anymore, and it'll focus on another area that you might have pain. So it's a really, really cool thing that we do, and the results are phenomenal. It usually takes like 3 to 5 sessions, and we can get rid of the pain very quickly.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, you learned something
really cool.
today.
No, it'll take a little work before I'm.
Well, we might have to tackle that knee with some needles.
There's so many questions that come to mind. So we're only running 20 minutes. I'm sitting thinking, hey, what about Charlie horses? And I bet you have a response to all that, but we don't have time. So tune in. Maybe we'll come back. So why Dunwoody? What brought you to Dunwoody?
We were living in town Atlanta, kind of East Atlanta, Grant Park area. Okay. And at the time we were looking to shift out of city living, if you will, to a place where we felt comfortable and we could know our neighbors and our families. And I felt like my kids were safe and they could walk without somebody, always hovering and trying to know where they are. In a community that there was, a tennis court and a pool and summers. That is one thing about Dunwoody. People go to their pools.
And there's a 4th of July parade.
The 4th,
right?
the 4th.
These things. Yeah.
All the things, and you could go to your local Publix and see all your neighbors and feel like it was a community. So that's what we wanted, and we came to Dunwoody, and I wanted to be near the Dunwoody Village, and we live about a mile from the village. We can walk, and you'll see my kids walking up and down Chambly Dunwoody to go to Mellow Mushroom or go to Brewster's or wherever they enjoy going. So it's really cool. I would say, I think Dunwoody's one of those rare places where your kids can be themselves.
That is good.
And they don't feel like so just unsafe or that something could happen. It is special.
We talked a lot about kids before we started taping today, and so you're tuned in to that part of being a mom. It's almost like we should probably put up here as she's a mom, right? Because that's very important to you, and I love that. And there is a community piece to Dunwoody, which is nice. So I see you at the Perimeter Chamber. You were at Dunwoody Rotary
Club.
We're going to get you to join Rotary. So, but it does create that sense of community. I think that's terrific. Let's shift gears. I have a Fitbit that tracks my sleep, my stairs, my steps. Everything seems to be these metrics-oriented stuff. What are the metrics that we should be paying attention to, and how do you measure them?
So that's a great question. I think that we put too much focus on like 10,000 steps a day, or just go out and exercise. But for the average person, they are not sure of what exercise means to them, meaning how much they should walk, how their heart rate should
So
change.
10,000 steps may not be the same for everybody.
Sure, because that could be walking your dog. Or for another person, that could be climbing hills at a fast speed.
Okay.
If we're not getting our heart rate up, if we're not measuring how our body changes to different exercises, meaning how is our breathing when we exercise? How does our heart rate change? How do we feel physically after we do it? Do we feel like we had a workout, or was it just really easy and I could go back out and do it again? Yeah. But at our office, one of the biggest things that we know is muscle mass and strength are really important for how long we live. So skeletal muscle mass, meaning lean muscles that we have in our body, is one of the biggest predictors of how long we will live across all sorts of diseases, including cancer. So fat on our bodies is inflammatory, and that can lead to a lot of these diseases and autoimmune conditions, but skeletal muscle mass can offset that. So if we can focus on that with our clients and help them to understand, so we have something called the InBody, which is track skeletal muscle mass, but that gives them a baseline of, okay, this is where you are, and now by seeing us, we are going to create a plan for you to help you to change your body composition. So skeletal muscle mass is greater than body fat or other things. And we're not worried about weight because that doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
You know, if you look at, you know, a lot of people look at BMI, okay? That BMI, and doctors use that is very misleading. If you look at any football running back, they would be considered obese. Their BMI would tell them they are obese, but they are not.
They are heavy.
They have muscles, right? So we cannot use that and say, oh, I'm not meeting my goals and I'm obese, if we don't really know what the composition is inside of us. And it's really fun when we get people to understand that, and then we get them on a fitness plan that involves strength training, that involves cardio, that then we help them. We have a dietitian on staff. We help them with their nutrition and understanding how to fuel their body. And then we then teach them sleep and what sleep means for recovery. All the pieces come together. And people are like, wow, I feel better. I can do more things. I'm not as tired. And that's the real goal that we want, that people can live and just feel good in their bodies.
So how do you measure that, right? You have a tracker, you have some sort of
Yeah.
electronic tracker. Is there ones that do a better job of measuring some of the things you just mentioned?
So I and most of my team, we use something called a Whoop.
Whoop.
WHOOP,
Okay.
Whoop. So what Whoop does is it tracks your sleep, which is like your recovery, so how well your body is rested.
Yep.
And then your strain, meaning how much you work your body during the day.
Okay.
So based off of how much you strain your body, what that could be exercise, that could just be walking, playing with your kids, your dog. It then tells you how much you need to sleep each night.
Oh, really? Each
To
day, so your
truly
sleep could
recover
change.
your body, yes.
okay.
So in any given day, we may need more recovery. If we went out and ran a half marathon, I might need 10 hours of sleep. If I, just walked around and went to work and didn't do anything, 8 might be fine.
Okay.
But it tweaks it based off of how much you're expending your energy during the day. And sleep, the other really important thing about sleep is the research shows is that lack of sleep dictates your pain more than pain dictates lack of sleep. So what that means is a lot of people say, I'm in pain and that's why I didn't get a good night's sleep. But if we can actually get a good night's sleep, we will be in less pain.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, fun facts.
This is really cool. All right. You're always talking about running. All around Dunwoody. You formed the Dunwoody Roadrunners group with Lindsay Amerson. Tell us a little bit about this group, and do you do other events?
Yeah, I'm a runner. I love running. Most of the people on my team are runners. But what we saw was that there were a lot of people running in Dunwoody. They were running by themselves. And Lindsay and I thought, how can we bring these people together and run as a group and build this community of wellness, of active people that are running together and just enjoying getting to know each other? we know as we are adults, right, it's really hard to meet people, like
It
just
is.
in general.
Yeah.
So when you run with a group, you meet people you never meet before.
Right.
And
you're like-minded.
and you're like-minded, and it's just really, really fun to meet up. And so we have group runs typically.
So you can talk when you run?
I can. I'm sure you could talk.
I can't talk when
You're
I'm
not.
running. How do you talk like that?
We have different levels.
Definitely not uphill.
Yes,
I'm
not
not
up-
kidding. I won't be able to do that.
It's for all levels of running.
Okay.
So if you are
So
a
you have
walk
you
runner,
have a talking run. And
we have
you
a talking run, and then
you
the
have a-
serious
okay, all
crew.
right.
Yes.
I would be
Yeah.
in the talking
We
run.
call them the fast kids that are always going at crazy speeds.
They're not talking.
They're not talking.
Okay.
They are they are focused. But we meet on the second and fourth Saturdays of the month typically. We post the runs on
So the second and the
fourth Saturday morning,
Saturdays, okay.
typically at our office, and we post it on our social media so people know when that's
What
happening.
time?
In the summer, 7:30.
7:30. Yeah.
It's too
Before
hot
it
to
gets too
do
hot,
it. Yeah, it's too
yeah.
hot to do any late. In the winter, we usually move it to 8 or 8:30.
Okay.
But
And if I wanted to join the running group after
Mm-hmm.
my knee feels good, I can go to your website and find out when you're meeting.
you can do that, and then we have a Facebook page called Dunwoody Road Runners.
Oh, good.
And
The
so we
road
post.
runners. Does anybody go meet me?
Meet me, yep, because those fast kids are the ones going, meet
Right,
me.
yeah,
They
right.
don't have time to slow down.
I love that. That is really cool.
Yeah. And then we do some things locally within the village, some of the restaurants there we will meet and meet there for the run, do 3 miles and come back and then just have drinks and food and hang out.
I can drink, like drink drinks?
Yeah,
when I
drink
run?
drinks.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know.
Why not?
I'm just trying to figure out my boundaries here. So if I go to Bard and I have a bourbon, can I run? Or is it better to do that after I run?
I would recommend after, but
I'll-
we
yeah,
we would love to watch what that looks like if you drink and then run.
That's right. So
You'll be the entertainment.
do I get more drunk after I run if my heart rate's up and I'm drinking bourbon?
That's hard to say,
I
but
don't know if that was a misnomer or not. That
well, you're
your heart
probably
rate's running.
dehydrated,
Yeah.
so that's
And
going to
that
go
bourbon's
into
not gonna help that.
the bloodstream faster. So if you add carbonation, that gets into your bloodstream faster.
It does. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like a rum and Coke, that's the carbonation.
Or a Moscow Mule.
Yeah, exactly.
All
So
right. Well, I didn't.
that's for another day. We talk about.
So we're blending, running and drinking. This sounds like something I could do.
It is right. So we would
You didn't say
recommend you
smoke
come.
a cigar, though. I know.
I
No cigar smoking.
No cigar smoking.
Okay. All right.
But you could just show up and drink and not run too.
No, I want to run. Actually, I really do want to run. That's the truth. But I think there is a misnomer that runners just run. They don't have any fun. They just run. This sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh,
Go out
it
and
is a
run
lot
with
of fun.
people, and you can end up at Barn afterwards. Barn's not open that early in the morning, for the record, but you meet up places where you can build those relationships.
Well, and we met it up at Valor Coffee on Saturday,
Oh,
so
good.
we can do
Love
coffee
Valor Coffee
as
yeah.
well.
Welcome to the
They're
neighborhood.
new.
Valor.
Yeah, they're new in the hood. But we join races together, so we train sometimes together and
Oh, cool.
and do local races. That's always the camaraderie makes it fun.
I like that. That's really cool. Well, we talked a little bit about the website and maybe some social. Let's formally tell everybody, where can they go to find you, more about Functionize and your social media sites?
Yeah, we have, we're all on all the channels. So our website is functionizehealth.com. We are on Instagram and Facebook at Functionize Health. And we create a lot of content just on education and exercise and wellness and how to stay healthy and well. Our tagline is keeping the ATL in good health. So that is what we hope to do and build just a community of wellness for Dunwoody that we can help people feel good.
I love that. I am going to do a huge endorsement here because I have, as I mentioned before, been to the office. I have been to some other physical therapy offices, and yours is very clean, very organized, lack of clutter. And I don't know why I seem to equate clutter with physical therapy, but they have all these accoutrements around the office, and you somehow have them either hidden away or you just don't use them, haven't found that the need. But it's very professional, and the staff is very, very good. So I do recommend, if you have any of the things that we've talked about, or you just want to throw the baseball with your son, which I think is a great thing, then you should definitely go and meet Lauren and her staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was
to see us.
fun.
It was
Yeah.
so good to spend time with you, and I look forward to seeing you more at Dunwoody Rotary. In the meantime, for the rest of you, thank you for joining us today. I am Mark Galvin, as I mentioned before. This show is produced by Discover Dunwoody. Our producer is Madison Holtz. Our sound technician is Emily Inser Gibson. On behalf of the entire Discover Dunwoody team, thanks for watching. Be sure to follow us on our social media. You can find us at Discover Dunwoody. That's our handle on all of our social media, except for Twitter, where it's Visit Dunwoody. Or go to our website, discoverdunwoody.com. Until next time, enjoy the day and go out and discover Dunwoody.